right, hi everybody. All right, so we are working on making sunflowers. So these guys, what we're looking at doing is trying to get the idea of the sunflower. So when you start off, you use just a regular HB pencil and you kind of figure out how many you want. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5. You want to sketch it out as light as possible. So using number 2 HB pencil, I just get 5 sections that I want, and I want to draw those very, very lightly. And then what I do is then I add, because the sunflower has a little bit of a middle in here, I do a middle. Now, sunflowers do not have perfect middles, so what you're going to want to do is try to kind of give an irregular shape to it. So when I'm doing mine, I kind of give an irregular shape, and then after I get my just kind of general sketch, I'm going to notice that inside here, they kind of connect like this. And I am drawing upside down for mine. I'm going like this. I've already sketched it out in pencil. I just want to be able to show you where these lines are going to be. Kind of an irregular middle. You do not want perfect. Sunflowers are always in a constant state of change, and they are a very fun flower to draw. One of my favorite artists, Vincent van Gogh, did a beautiful job with all of his flowers that he did. He did such a nice job with those. And I love seeing his sunflower paintings. So his were not, it's not photorealistic. It's not what we're going for. Kind of the idea of the sunflower and kind of the change that is in a sunflower. And the kind of the shape, we're looking at the shapes. You do not necessarily want them perfect. You want a little bit of variety. And so I'm trying to give a little bit of variety to my middles, and any extra lines at the end that show up with the pencil, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and change that. So right now, kind of giving those middle circles like this, an irregular shape. They're not all the same. I want a little bit of variety. Variety's good. All right, so now I kind of have my middles. Now what I want to do is, sometimes sunflowers, not all of them, like this one has it, where it has the middle, you kind of can see this extra, ooh, there goes some petals. My sunflower is not doing so well. Sometimes some of those sunflower petals kind of go into middle. So what I'm doing is just giving the idea of that. Now, if you have any little oopses like right there, all you have to do is just take your Sharpie, just go around it a little bit more. So I'm going to do that with this one. And they're not always perfectly round. They're not always a perfect point. They're just a little bit, each petal's a little bit different when you're looking at it. Just kind of give the idea. I'm just tracing right over those lines. So when I do these sunflower shapes, the petals, I make them kind of a little bit big. Depending on the type of your sunflower that you have, you're going to want to measure those out if you want it precise. If not, kind of just giving it a nice eyeball. I am conscious of the space or the gaps I'm leaving in between. Sometimes I have gaps, sometimes I don't have gaps. Some petals are longer, some are shorter. Just that makes it interesting. So I'm just bringing it around like this. Kind of giving the idea, going all the way around. I do not want to do all of the sunflower petals. That would take a really long time if I was to draw it realistic. Now, if you notice the shape, kind of how they come to a point in the side, sometimes if you get that pulled out, then that's why I kind of have those irregular middles. Sometimes they're kind of like stuck in there and you don't necessarily see it, but they fold in. They also have these really nice little lines like this. So I can go through and kind of add, maybe I just do a little line right there, make them just a little bit different. They all do have that line. So if you give the illusion of it, It's going to give your project a little bit of, oh, hey, looks nice. Just a little bit of variety. When I use several different elements, creates interest. And that's what we're doing, is just trying to create an interest for our sunflower. And this is not a perfect sunflower, this is just the idea of it. I am going to give a little bit of point to that one, kind of give a little bit of edge. Sunflowers are such a beautiful flower. This year we're going to be planting several of them, and we're hoping they get as tall as our house. I have the mammoth kind. The head is going to be interesting this year. So I'm getting all these points here. I'm just going on top of these lines. A lot of the times I go right off the page. It creates that idea that there is more than what we're looking at, and we're kind of just zooming in on just some of the sunflowers. And it creates interest and tension when you go all the way to that edge, instead of just putting one small one right in the middle. And if you were to always draw them small, no one would stop and see them. Kind of like Georgia O'Keeffe, how she's got her flowers. So Georgia O'Keeffe also wonderful at drawing flowers. Just go like this, creating that edge. And now I'm going to go on top to give that idea that it's in the inside. Kind of a point here. Notice how I'm just doing a curve. Lots of curves. Kind of a swiggle curve. I'm making big ones. That way I don't have to do a lot of them. I'm just going on top of my lines. And this one here, I'm just going to go like it's bent over, it's folded over. Sometimes they just have a tendency to fold over, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you get that little bit of folding over. So adding that every once in a while is going to give the impression that you have a bunch of sunflowers. And that my edges aren't necessarily round, they're kind of this irregular shape here. I get this last one in, and then I would go through and I would draw all of my lines like this. I'm not necessarily looking at it, I'm just giving these nice lines. Just give a little bit of variety. Goes off the page, off the page, off the page, off the page. Lots of off the page. And then you wonder what is going on off the page. A little bit more lines here. Add lines there. Lines like this. So when I'm doing this, I'm setting up myself up for a nice project later on when I go to paint. It'll be a little easier. So I have the contour lines, and now all I have to do is just add the paint to it. I'm going to use a watercolor over these. But for today, our short little video is going to be about adding the drawing. So feel free to pause the video if at any point you need to go back or rewind, or just kind of see it. Now I'm making this one curve, so it's the idea like, oh, hey, that one's folding over. And adding these. Like this. Just the sound of that Sharpie's fun. This one here is like, these are like the ones that are coming behind. They're like, peekaboo, hi, I'm here. And now I'm going to add several of these little ideas of the sunflower middle. Also gives a little bit of variety. Now, if I wanted to give a weight to my flower, what I'm going to do after I have these lines here, oh, I gotta get these. I haven't added these yet. There's always those little details. You just go back. It just makes your art nice when you add all of those details. Just lots of a little bit of variety. And it's not in the same place every spot. I don't want it to be. Now these are the stems that come up, go off the page, get some nice vertical lines here. And that one here, I think I've kind of got them all my lines now. And these are the leaves. That sunflower smells really nice. Okay, so now that I have this, I have one type of line. I want to go back and I want to give emphasis to a couple of lines. So what I'm going to do is just make this line a little bit thicker, and that way I have a variety of lines. Just also creates an interest and where the viewer wants to focus their attention. So after you have it all done in pencil, going back and you have it Sharpied, go back and then pick a few spots where you want to have your idea. So a couple things I paid attention to as well. I was doing this, I was looking at my space, which is the area between and around objects, and also I'm looking at variety, having just a variety of different kinds of shapes, lines, and different size spaces as well. When you use all those, just having something different. You also want a place where the eye can rest. So my eye's gonna rest right here on these sides. When looking at your art and you're looking for composition, you also wanna do things in odd numbers, 3s, 5s, 7s, 11s. People like it when you have a picture that looks like that. It also looks better, feels better when you look at something. If you want to disturb somebody, make something even, slightly off-centered. That will make your art look a little bit off. And sometimes artists want to do that. They want to disturb people. So if you want to disturb people, make things in even numbers and make them slightly off and not symmetrical, which was the same on both sides. So adding these extra weighted lines with a Sharpie. Just going to create that interest. So if at any point you need to go back and re-watch the video, or you need to hit pause, feel free to hit pause. Now, I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, okay, it's kind of nice, but I want to do something else with it just to give it a little bit of extra. So I'm going to choose to do dots on the side. Or if somebody wanted to, they could do squares. I like dots. Dots are fantastic. Little things to add for design and ideas. So are spirals. So it also gives a little bit of variety because I have these nice large petal shapes. And I'm going to do it on this side. I put my tape down so that I have it wouldn't move on the camera. And the dots are nice. Just repeating that over and over again. So just getting those dots. And then like this. And I really don't have anything on the bottom. Having that line be interrupted, I'm just going to make that a petal. And then put my little dots right here. And of course, now I'm gonna want a signature on here, signature round. So you have a very nice piece of art, and that is how you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sunflowers with a little bit of variety. Now, if I wanted to, I probably could, looking at it, make the stems a little bit so they stand out a little bit more. And then now all I have to do is paint this. And it kind of gives the different lines. And if I wanted to make the leaves stand out a little bit, when I use the green paint, they'll definitely stand out against the yellow. All right, well, I hope that helped you, and you have a fantastic day.